Hello, my name is Stephen Redman and welcome to another episode of Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we discuss everything to do with Christian books, theology books, books that might be on a reading list for a seminary course or for a bachelor's or master's degree in theology or biblical studies, or simply just books that have caught your eye online or in your pastor's office. If you like what I have to say, please give us a thumbs up, please subscribe and click on the bell. That way we'll very quickly get to 1,000 subscribers, which would be really good because it will help us get the word out to more people. Apparently that's the way the algorithm works. So, thank you for listening today. Today I want to talk about a particular book which has recently come out by Matthew Halstead. It's The End of the World as You Know It. Matthew is Associate Professor of Biblical Studies at Eternity Bible College and has written a couple of other books previously. This book has got a lot of press. It's been promoted on the media, on the social media. It's definitely getting out there. And I want to mention this because I think this is a book that will scratch an itch that many people have. Now, to give you a perspective, I flatly refused to preach on Revelation for many, many years. And I would put myself in this position. I would say when I was 20 years old, I understood the book of Revelation 100% and I could describe to you a timescale for the end of the age. And by the time I was 30, I realised that I might be wrong, but I didn't know what right was. By the time I was 40, I became very dedicated to reading and searching on these issues. And by the time I was 50, I began to feel at long last I have an idea about what the book of Revelation is about. And this is because I grew up in a time, it was just immediately post-liberal thinking in the UK, in that the Liberals still dominated many seminaries, and it was a case where you had people who didn't believe the scriptures teaching the scriptures. Now, as a result of this, we adopted various ideas, some of which were simply wrong, and some of which were just simply mistaken. And I want you to understand that I grew up with John Nelson Darby's teaching on dispensationalism, but I have walked away from that and would no longer engage with that. In fact, during my years of pastoring, I have never once taught that as a thing. So, when I see a book entitled The End of the World as You Know It, what the Bible really says about the end times and why it's good news, I would like to read that. So this arrived for me a few days ago and I have read it this week. And this is a wonderfully accessible book. It is academic, it is written by an academic, it's got a decent bibliography, it's got footnotes on most pages. So this is a quotable academic book, but it is written by someone who is a brilliant communicator and who wanted to make it accessible. And seriously, this is a great product. Now, if you believe in a series of events that will culminate in the second coming of Jesus that may include or may not include antichrists, raptures, and various other things like tribulations, and you may think that, for example, the end times are something in the future, then I would suggest to you this book will challenge you. And if you are a person that says, but I don't want to be challenged, well, don't buy the book, don't read the book. But if you understand that the way that you will always remain teachable is by opening up yourself to new ideas. And of course, this book doesn't really open you up to any new ideas. They're not new, they may be new to you. So what I would say to you is Halstead, in his 2023 book, 206 pages, whose bibliography even includes Tim LaHaye, has written a book that deals with key ideas that we associate with the book of Revelation but may not actually be associated with the book of Revelation. So he talks about end times, he talks about understanding Revelation as its genre and what the message is of the book. He talks about the mark of the beast, he talks about rapture theology, the tribulation, and he talks about when Jesus returns and what we might think about the Antichrist. This is focused on helping you have a good handle on what the Bible actually does say. And I think we have to accept what the Bible says should be the ultimate guideline for faith and lifestyle. So he goes through a systematic examination of relevant scriptures, and he goes through these passages asking, what might this mean? What could it mean? What did it mean? And he focuses in very clearly on the immediate context of when it was written and what it would have meant to the original hearer, because ultimately, if we are going to allow the Bible to speak to us in our 21st century, we must start by understanding what it meant in the first century for the New Testament. So he says that we should focus on the Lamb rather than on the beast. He says that we shouldn't be totally obsessed all the time with looking for a future Antichrist. And is it someone that's alive now? What religious background do they come from? In fact, he suggests to us that the future Antichrist is much more likely to be somebody that is based in the church than outside of it. What I think is really helpful is Halstead encourages us to ask questions. Now, let me tell you something. If you are in a church where your pastor won't answer questions, where the teaching element will not engage with any question that you have from a sincere point of view, then I would have to say, are you sure that this is somebody that is actually interested in the Bible themselves? And is it possibly somebody that is more of a leaning to cultic thinking? Because when you won't engage questions and answer questions, then you leave yourself open to that type of accusation. And ultimately, we must be very, very careful that we always are able to give an answer for what we are believing. We need to be able to give an answer for our gospel. And reality is that means we have to be able to ask questions and learn how to answer them. And I am really glad that when I was 10 years old in church, my first pastor said, don't automatically believe what I teach you, but go home, read the scriptures for yourself and come back with questions. And you know that you can't have a better foundation for life than that. And I'm very grateful for John Mosey, who was the pastor who led me to Christ. I think that we need to engage with questions, and here Halstead asks all the pertinent ones. And if you have been brought up with the Left Behind novels, and let me stress to you these are novels, then you should maybe read this book to see what the Bible actually teaches. And I would say that if you are going to allow the Bible to speak to you, you need to learn the accent of the person that wrote it at the time. You need to be able to engage with the thinking of those people. And I think this is a brilliant aid to study. So what I would say is, this is a good book if you're doing any essay work that is on end times eschatology. This is a paperback. In the UK, it's selling for £20 or thereabouts. And I would suggest to you it's very good value for that. And this, whereas this is the book that I want to focus on right now, I am just going to show you a few others very briefly that might help you in studying this, because Halstead is not the first person to have a view that this needed dealing with. For example, Scott McKnight, Revelation for the Rest of Us, came out just over a year ago. Reading Responsibly by Michael Gorman is a 2011 book, Reading Revelation Responsibly, 213 pages. That book is an absolute godsend if you're trying to understand Revelation. Discovering Revelation, part of the Discovering Biblical Text series by David De Silva, who incidentally endorses Halstead's book on the back. This is a 235-page book from 2021, and this is an absolutely brilliant insight into the book of Revelation. Reading Revelation in Context, which is a 2019 book, 204 pages, this is an editing together of a number of dedicated journal articles or articles that might have been written directly for the book. This gives you the context of the book of Revelation, one that's very helpful. And Craig Coaster wrote Revelation and the End of All Things. So this is a 2001 book with just over 210 pages. And again, this will give you a great insight into how the book of Revelation is designed to work. I suppose the book I haven't reached down from my bookshelf is New Testament Theology on Revelation by Richard Bauckham, which is also a great in-depth work. And all of these people I've just mentioned, they're all creditable professors or senior lecturers. They all have something to offer on the subject. And Halstead is just the latest in this line. But I really recommend Halstead, as indeed I do with that other pile of books I've just waved at you. There are plenty of books out there that will explain end times to you, will explain eschatology, will explain the book of Revelation, will explain Matthew 24 and 1 Thessalonians 4 and various other passages, 2 Corinthians 15, that are waved at us as regarding end times, but might be slightly more nuanced than that. I hope that's helped you. If it has, please give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe and click on the bell, and I will see you next time on Pastor's Library. Until then, bye!